I want to infiltrate every Academy member's mind.
Let's see, it only took 2 minutes for you to use it.
No, I need to say that. I want to infiltrate every Academy member's mind to finally give you the Oscar.
Oh my goodness.
Because this is astonishing.
Really? Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's awfully sweet. Okay, thank you.
What did Robert Mazur teach you about staying in character?
That's one thing that I didn't need any lessons on. You know, I mean, what he did for a living is what I do for a living. So slipping into accepting, embracing a character, sticking to it, focused on that character that was the easy part. What wasn't easy was then taking on the added layer of pressure that he lived with. If I don't do well, oh, I messed that up. We need to do that scene over again. I'm sorry. If he doesn't do well, it could cost him his life. So when I go home, I could have a good day or a bad day, and I talk to my wife, oh, well, that was a little rough. We didn't quite, connect on that scene, or we had some disagreements and this didn't work out, whatever. But, tomorrow's another day. He can't talk about it when he goes home. He has to keep everything inside. So that adds another layer of pressure to him as a human being, holding on to that kind of tension, because he wasn't free to say those things. And even if he had a good day or something, the transition to go from your life is at risk, you have to maintain hyper focus. You're only as strong as the weakest link of your organization. An informant could make a mistake and you suffer for it. To then transition and going home and being a father and a husband and helping your daughter with a math question or something, that was blowing my mind. How did you do that? How did you become Bob Mazur after being Bob Musella all day long and taking on the airs of that guy? And to me, that's what I thought audiences would resonate with, is that, okay, it's one thing to have this agenda, this mission to accomplish something good for society, it's his job, but how does that man then transition to being who he really is? It's fascinating to me.
Do you think if he would not have forgo the CIA and his superiors and do this operation on his own, he would have succeeded?
No, I think it takes the cooperation of an organization that supports the protocols and the agenda that was set forth. As bureaucratic as it is, and everybody has a different timeline, and as it was, they were nervous. After 2.5 years, they were deathly afraid of something cracking, something leaking, and the whole thing is gone, done. If they smelled, an informant or something, even if Bob wasn't in physical danger, if they sensed something was not right, pack it up, change course, and all your work is for nothing. That's at the least end of that spectrum. The worst end of the spectrum is that could be destroyed, and they would kill you. And as we bring out in the movie, they don't just want to kill you. They want to destroy everything about you. And so that was a constant reminder with Bob on a daily basis.
How much of this era how much did you know of this era with the whole drug tsunami almost in the 80s coming to Florida?
Very aware. I was, I don't do drugs. I've never done cocaine or anything like that. But it was all around. I went to an audition once where there was cocaine on the coffee table. And I walked into an office and it's like So there's that right there. Okay, you know, and a
This
very
was
hyper
in that era, like in
yeah,
the
yeah, it was in the early '80s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It wasn't. I mean, that was uncommon, but they got sloppy. They forgot to, you know, to put it away or whatever, and it's like, oh shit, we still have a. You know, I guess, you know, it's crazy. But yeah, I was very aware. It was I think, a manifestation of the looseness of the '70s. The '60s had the sexual revolution and the awareness, right? Everything exploded. The pill was created. Don't trust authority. Anti-war anthems, things like that, and our government is lying to us became a reality in the '60s. So then the '70s celebrated the bacchanal that the '60s created. We were like all over the place, indiscriminate sexual partners and things like that, which then transitioned into the '80s, and all of a sudden that came to a halt because of AIDS and because of herpes and because of all these other things. But it was still the '80s. The people who were growing up in the '80s still wanted, where's the me? Where's the me? You know, the '70s, they got to do all that. Where's the me? So drugs, man, drugs, boom. It was commonplace to see on the end of a night at a club, a nightclub, whether, you know, I even went to Studio 54 in the '80s. It was a little after its time, but still Studio 54. And they said, oh yeah, we find little vials of empty cocaine things all over the place, and it's just what was. Yeah, it was a wild time.
And did you, because Escobar Stories now gets a lot of attention with Narcos obviously. Did you go and watch that, or did you?
I haven't seen it yet. No. And it wasn't something that was on my list. I heard great things about it. And I want to see it now.
Yeah.
But at the time, I wanted to stay focused on this story. I didn't want to be influenced by some other story. Because I was up to my eyeballs in doing research for this story and talking to the real people, and Bob and Amir and Kathy and all these people, and then just doing my own research at the time and this particular case. And then developing the character of Bob Mazur and finding out where he lives emotionally and how he became an actor and put masks on him. But first I had to understand Bob Mazur.
Can you talk about the encounter with Bob? Is he cold-hearted or?
Bob?
Yeah.
No, he's not. He's a very friendly guy. He is careful, though. To this day, he won't be photographed or videotaped, and when he's on an audio, when he's doing radio or something, his voice is a little augmented. He put a lot of people in jail. He had 85 arrests during that time, and most were convicted. And there was a 2-year preparation process after the arrest. 2 years to prepare for trial. The trials took 2.5 years. So that's how it goes. Tremendous amount of the success rate of them going to prison. Well, a lot of those guys are now out of prison, and they didn't appreciate that Bob turned out to be basically a liar. He wasn't who he said he was. He did it for the right reasons as far as his job and for society, but to them he was a liar, and he was responsible for putting them behind bars. So there's a certain amount of danger still swirling, and as Bob's nature has it, he will err on the side of caution.
Yeah.
What is his motivation, though? I mean, it's to do good, but that's a big sacrifice, living a life in fear. Is it just to do good, or is it?
Well, a lot of people are attracted to the adrenaline rush of risk. Actors, by and large, professional athletes are the kind of people who, let's take the chance, let's go for it. I'm going to hyper focus on my training and that sort of thing. People who jump out of airplanes, people who go swimming with sharks, people who surf the massive waves. What is it about those people that make them do that? And there is a sense of accomplishment. There's a sense of a fraction of the world can do what I do. There's some pride in that. Bob was good at this, and he was good at his job, and he was dedicated to his job. When he first started Sea Chase, this operation, it was on a smaller level. And almost like Russian dolls, you don't, oh, there's another one. Oh, there's another. It kept going. For him, this kept getting deeper and deeper and deeper. So does he say, okay, that's enough, I don't want to go any deeper? No, he's saying, my God, they got all the way up to Pablo Escobar's lawyer. And maybe if given a little more time, they could have gotten up to Pablo, possibly. Maybe, maybe not. But at any given time, when you're widening that net, when you're accepting more and more informants and more people come in, the more people, the weaker your organization is, because chances, you're only as strong as the weakest member of a group. And at any given point, it could have gone downhill quickly.
There's so much dark money around nowadays. Did Bob talk about that? Are there operations to uncover that?
Yeah. There's a book out called Dark Money.
Yeah, I read it.
It's really good.
Fantastic.
And scary at the same time. Governments are often making decisions on the short term, as we have seen, that come to haunt you in the long term. Hopefully that sensibility is changing, and it's like, let's not be hasty. But at times, there are decisions that need to be made to remedy the immediate threat. All we can do is try to be safeguards and watch it and report it, and hopefully your government is behaving properly.
Right? Why would Bob want to tell this story in the movie and the book, and like if he's so cautious about everything he's done?
Because number one, I think it's a fantastic story.
Yeah, definitely.
His operation brought down the 7th largest bank in the world at the time, BCCI. That's how big it was. Brought it down to a defunct level. 85 arrests initially, and then afterward there were up and over 100 total. Almost as many convictions. I mean, it was a tremendously successful issue. And he couldn't tell anybody. We are human beings. We need to have a reciprocal situation. We breathe in, we breathe out. We eat, we defecate. Sorry. We are born, we live, we die. Everything is cyclical, and everything around us is cyclical. If you told a human being, you can only receive information, but you can't speak about it. Think of that. Think of what that would do to the human psyche, a human being saying, I can tell you how much I like you or appreciate you, your work is good, you can't say a word. Your mate would say, I love you, and you can't say a word. I mean, just think of, so I think he was bottled up. I think he was so filled with information that he had to keep secret for so long that if he did it in a way that gets it out, flushes it out of his system in a cathartic nature, that it would help him as a person close that chapter and say, that was my life, and now he's a grandfather, and he's still married to Ev, and everything's fine, and he's got a new life. But I think it would be hard for him to have that new life had he not had an avenue to express himself.
How much of the character did you develop before the filming? You met with Bob, and then how much did you kind of have different epiphanies while on set, or see his mannerisms, or something that changed?
Well, there's all it's a combination of everything. With someone like Bob, who no one knows, you have a little more leeway in telling that non-fictional story. With someone like Lyndon Johnson, I had to be much more accurate. I had to be much more on top of it before stepping in front of the camera or on stage with that. But Bob was more of, I certainly didn't intend to pattern my behavior after who he was specifically, but there is, if you ever were to meet Bob, which you probably won't, but maybe you will, but you can. He's around, by the way. He's a very meticulous guy. Everything is orderly. He is a check, double check, triple check, quadruple check kind of guy. When he was living in Tampa and actually operating out of Tampa on smaller scales, and this case was this, he sent that guy to prison, and he actually goes home. He has 2 children. They had a code when they were driving around, when their kids are in the car, and Bob is constantly scanning in all the mirrors and looking out, constantly looking. If there was anyone that he saw who he knew from any underground operation, or thinks that might be so-and-so from an underground operation, he would mention a word, a safe word, so to speak, and the kids would drop to the floorboards and would be absolutely silent and still and lay across the floorboards of the car, knowing this was the drill. So that's what they lived with. They went to, his daughter told me, they said they went to the zoo one time, and Bob thought he saw someone ahead of them going through the entrance who he thought was someone who was on a current case. Turn around, out they go. So that created a lot of tension within the family. It wasn't a normal life, and it's difficult. It was difficult for him, and he had a lot of stress and tension and pressure to manage that.
He called down the bank. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Oh, okay. I was going to say, does playing a real person change how you approach a role versus playing a fictional character?
Yeah, it does. Non-fictional characters, they're men who did something of note that people wrote about. Dalton Trumbo, who I played in Lyndon Johnson, Bob Mazur, there are people who know him. Bob Mazur was very helpful to me. In the case of Dalton Trumbo or LBJ, I talked to the daughters, I talked to people who knew him, and you have an added responsibility to present that character as honestly as you can, getting the sensibility of that character. With a fictional character, you can go anywhere, really. You can create your own identity because you are starting from scratch. It's interesting because some people think that would give you more leeway. Well, it can, but it could also be infinite. Whereas if you have the parameters of a character who lived, you go, well, he lived during this time period. So you're not going to go outside of that. It's like here, and that kind of gives you some guideposts to say, okay, what was going on in this time period in the world? And okay, what was he married? Okay, who was he married to? And why was he, so you can kind of take what I call the funnel process of when you start a character. It's like this massive opening that eventually has to distill down to a performance. You can't keep it there because then it's unwieldy. You're too many characteristics. It has to make sense, and you have to shape it so that when an audience finally sees it, they understand the whys, they understand the quirks or the characteristics that you're presenting. And some of that, as to your question, is not, you're not capable of finding that until you're on the set. I'll give you an example. We were doing you have all seen the movie? Oh, yeah. We're doing the scene in the bathroom, the restaurant, the anniversary scene, and it was scripted that he runs into Morris Sr. and he changes his attitude to be that Bob Musella. And Ev is looking at him like, what's going on? But she knows enough. She's been around this guy enough to just clam it and agree with whatever he's saying. So she's going along, but you can sense her nervousness, and she sees the gun and what's going on. Now I'm thinking, oh my God, this is our anniversary. Here comes this poor waiter with our anniversary cake. Well, what happened is that we didn't see the cake. All of a sudden, they bring this enormous cake. And I go, that's the cake? They go, yeah. I go, okay, I have to say something about this cake. Because people, I would be in the audience going, that's, what? You know, so I had to add that. Okay, and we did it a couple times, and I get up and I berate the guy, and Brad Furman comes up to me and he goes, you know, you gotta shove his head in the cake, don't you think? And I go, oh yeah. When he said that, it was his idea. When he said that, it was like, oh, that resonated. I went, yeah, I've got to do that. So how many cakes do we have? And they go, 1. Now you're thinking, what prop? You know, it's like, come on. You get 1 cake? What if that cake fell? Then you can't do the cake scene? It's like, come on. Anyway, miscommunication happens. So we have 1. We got to make sure we see. So we did it several times leading up to the cake thing. And then cut, do it again, cut, we got it, now get the angles of the 2 cameras, so no matter where we are, we're gonna get this clear. And we told the waiter, the young actor from Britain, I said, what's he gonna do? Well, I hope you're okay with this, but I'm going to smash your head into the cake. And he goes, cool. And so we just came up with it and did the thing and smashed his, you know. And so that's something that you can't necessarily say ahead of time. You can, it could be conceivable, but you have to be loose enough on the set to allow the stimulus, to allow the moment, the way someone's playing something, to expand the performance.
Thank you. We have to break.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Excellent.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much.